1. In the context of preparing students for the end-of-grade test, which principle of adult learning is best applied when designing a review session that allows students to connect new test strategies with their prior experiences? A. Self-directed learning. B. Scaffolding. C. Experiential learning. D. Rote memorization. 2. An educator is tasked with evaluating end-of-grade test results to inform curriculum adjustments. Which evaluation method would best determine whether instructional objectives were met? A. Formative assessment. B. Summative assessment. C. Diagnostic testing. D. Norm-referenced testing. 3. When building curriculum for end-of-grade test preparation, which step ensures alignment between standards, instruction, and assessment? A. Backward design. B. Content mapping. C. Test item randomization. D. Group differentiation. 4. During end-of-grade test preparation workshops, the instructor emphasizes the importance of active participation and group problem solving. Which adult learning principle is being applied? Andragogy. B. Behaviorism. C. Constructivism. D. Cognitive load theory. 5. Which communication strategy would most effectively clarify scoring criteria to educators interpreting end-of-grade test data? A. Using technical jargon consistently. B. Employing clear rubrics and examples. C. Delivering feedback only in written reports. D. Focusing on test-taking tips instead of data. 6. Regulatory compliance for the end-of-grade test most directly requires educators to ensure: A. Test questions are memorized in advance. B. Confidentiality of test materials is maintained. C. Teachers interpret results independently. D. All students receive identical accommodations. 7. A mentor guiding new teachers in end-of-grade test preparation encourages reflective journals after each lesson. This practice primarily supports which mentoring technique? A. Directive feedback. B. Modeling best practices. C. Facilitating self-assessment. D. Providing standardized rubrics. 8. Which evaluation tool best measures the effectiveness of instructional interventions implemented before the end-of-grade test? A. Exit tickets. B. Longitudinal data analysis. C. Peer feedback surveys. D. Self-paced quizzes. 9. A teacher adjusts lesson pacing after reviewing formative assessments tied to end-of-grade test standards. This demonstrates: A. Differentiated instruction. B. Summative feedback. C. Test security compliance. E. Standardized scoring. 10. In adult learning theory, fostering autonomy during end-of-grade test review sessions means allowing learners to: A. Skip practice sessions entirely. B. Select strategies that align with their strengths. C. Use only instructor-provided resources. D. Focus solely on memorizing answers. 11. Which communication barrier most threatens the accurate interpretation of end-of-grade test results among faculty? A. Overuse of visual charts. B. Lack of context in data presentation. C. Providing too many concrete examples. D. Using plain language. 12. When revising curriculum for the end-of-grade test, which step best supports continuous improvement? A. Ignoring past test performance data. B. Aligning content to tested standards. C. Designing unrelated enrichment activities. D. Focusing solely on rote memorization. 13. Which mentoring strategy is most effective in preparing novice teachers to administer the end-of-grade test within regulatory standards? A. Demonstrating compliance procedures. B. Encouraging test question prediction. C. Focusing on competitive teaching. D. Avoiding discussion of test regulations. 14. Which evaluation approach ensures that the end-of-grade test preparation program aligns with both short-term mastery and long-term skill retention? A. Normative comparisons. B. Criterion reference testing. C. Isolated performance tasks. D. One-time summative feedback. 15. A key principle of adult learning relevant to end-of-grade test workshops is that adults A. Learn best through repetition alone. B. Bring prior knowledge that shapes learning. C. Depend solely on teacher-directed methods. D. Retain more when taught without context. 16. A school's failure to provide accommodations for students with documented needs during the end-of-grade test would represent a violation of A. Professional mentoring guidelines. E. Ethical evaluation practices. C. Regulatory compliance requirements. D. Curriculum development standards. 17. Which strategy best incorporates adult learning principles in professional development about end-of-grade test administration? A. Lecture-heavy presentations. E. Case study analysis with peer collaboration. C. Memorization of testing rules. D. Independent reading of manuals. 18. The primary purpose of analyzing disaggregated end-of-grade test data is to A. Compare teachers' lesson plans. B. Identify achievement gaps. C. Eliminate non-tested subjects. D. Rank students individually. 19. When providing feedback on end-of-grade test performance, which method best reflects effective communication? A. Delivering scores without explanation. E. Highlighting only student weaknesses. C. Balancing strengths and areas for growth. D. Avoiding data to reduce anxiety. 20. A teacher includes open-ended discussions in end-of-grade test prep, encouraging students to share their thought processes. This approach reflects A. Constructivist principles. E. Operant conditioning. C. Test item analysis. D. Regulatory compliance. 21. Curriculum alignment with end-of-grade test standards requires A. Substitution of teacher preference for tested content. B. Ensuring instructional objectives mirror assessment goals. C. Eliminating enrichment opportunities. D. Random assignment of instructional units. 22. In a mentoring context, modeling proper proctoring procedures for the end-of-grade test represents A. Abstract mentoring. E. Experiential guidance. C. Directive evaluation. D. Passive support. 23. Which evaluation technique is best used to monitor progress during end-of-grade test preparation? A. Benchmark testing. B. Summative evaluation only. C. Random observation without data. D. Peer-to-peer role play. 24. Effective communication of end-of-grade test policies to parents should emphasize A. Complex regulatory language. B. Clear, accessible explanations. C. Comparative scoring against peers. D. Avoidance of specific details. 25. An end-of-grade test review program grounded in adult learning principles should prioritize A. Learner autonomy and practical application. B. Repetitive drilling without context. C. Passive listening to lectures. D. Exclusive focus on high scores. 26. A teacher uses end-of-grade test practice results to identify areas of curriculum that need reinforcement. This reflects A. Summative assessment only. E. Data-driven instruction. C. Regulatory noncompliance. D. Student self-direction only. 27. Which regulatory compliance step is essential during end-of-grade test administration? A. Allowing flexible testing dates for convenience. B. Following established protocols for test security. C. Giving students prior access to test questions. D. Permitting instructors to modify items. 28. The most effective mentoring approach for preparing educators to handle end-of-grade test irregularities is A. Ignoring unexpected issues. B. Role-playing real test day scenarios. C. Reading test manuals silently. D. Avoiding practice exercises. 29. Which adult learning strategy is most effective for faculty workshops on interpreting end-of-grade test data? A. Interactive data analysis exercises. B. Listening to expert lectures without discussion. C. Memorizing statistical definitions. D. Reading raw score tables individually. 30. A teacher adapts instructional materials to address multiple learning styles before the end-of-grade test. This demonstrates A. Compliance violations. B. Differentiated instruction. C. Summative-only feedback. D. Standardized test bias. 31. To ensure accountability in end-of-grade test preparation, evaluation reports should A. Be shared only with administrators. B. Align with measurable outcomes. C. Focus on subjective opinions. D. Avoid referencing test standards.